モタサバガガトアラハトサンマサンブダサHomage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dhamma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie So. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandavs, 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 namandavs. Hyobyaku. Today we are gathered here to observe the Bodhi Day Service, or Jodo-e, which is commemorated on December 8th. Bodhi Day is considered the time when Shakyamuni Buddha attained awakening. It is the day in which, for the former prince, sat underneath a Bodhi tree and did not rise until he attained the resolution to the suffering that afflicts all sentient beings. Shakyamuni Buddha awakened to the infinite wisdom and compassion that is the principle of supreme Buddhahood, and brought to this world this wonderful and profound teaching. Let us thoroughly hear and receive this path of boundless light and warmth. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandas, 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 namandas. Keshu Tennim Shokugyo Amida Senryo Zokuson Zai Ni Mimeu Anato Muryo Bushi Shuine Konjiki Shinjo Nyosen no Shamata Gyo Nyozobu Nyomoku Jonyaku Shorenge Koga Chonai Midason Menzen Enjo Nyomangat Iko Yunyo Sem Nichigat Shonyo Ten Kukushira Koga Chonai Midason Kannon Chodai Kanchiuji Shuju Meuso Hoshogon Nobukugen
独自在子が町内見出そう実法名門菩薩衆無料小魔女三段一生衆上眼力自由子が町内見出そう根体保険知書系前言症状目う大座お膝上尿線の子が町内見出そう実法将来勝負し権限人図思案楽戦後尊厳上業子が町内見出そう小無常無我と薬尿水眼伝尿路一種説法無名字子が町内見出そう非尊無戦無悪名薬無尿人悪道不主任死心教非尊子が町内見出そう非尊無料法勉強無小衆悪知識往生不大死亡大子が町内見出そう我説非尊苦独自修善無変尿海水小逆前後小乗者衛生衆上小非公ナマンナブナマンナブナマンナブナマンナブナマンナブナマンナブがんにしくどく平等性祭道本母大心往生
Please join me in 合唱。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。
Namo Amida Butsu. Naman Daus, Naman Daus, Naman Daus, Naman Daus, Naman Daus.
Anyway, I would like to continue with the story of Shakyamuni Buddha. On that day, on the day that he is said to attain awakening, actually, on this day, Shakyamuni Buddha did not discover Buddhism. Actually, the teaching of the Buddha has existed since time immemorial. It was always there. Shakyamuni Buddha, according to Mahayana Buddhism, is not the only Buddha. He is only the last one to physically appear in this world. And there has actually been countless worlds before this one, and there has been countless Buddhas that have come before Shakyamuni. He is simply the one who helped bring forth and recognize this teaching as we know it today in this world right now. Actually, many of you might not know this, but there is actually a next predicted Buddha to appear in this world. Does anybody know who that might be? I don't know if you've ever heard of Maitreya or the Miroku Bosatsu, but this is an interesting tidbit. But Miroku Bosatsu or Maitreya is said to be the next coming Buddha right now or in the future. But in addition, so under the Bodhi tree, Shakyamuni did not preach Buddhism. Actually, as a matter of fact, initially he believed that the Dharma was far too vast and deep for any human to understand. So he was unsure about whether he should teach the Dharma to everyone. But legend has it that as he was walking that day, the Hindu god Brahma appeared before him, beseeching him to share the profound Buddha Dharma. And hearing this plea, the Buddha then relented and then decided to teach the Dharma. When he decided to do so, he sought out the 5 disciples who had initially kicked him out of their group of practicing mendicant monks. And to these 5 ascetics, Shakyamuni Buddha taught the 4 Noble Truths at a place called Sarnath, or Deer Park. And it is here that the religion of Buddhism as we know it begins. And the 5 men who initially castigated him become his first disciples, thus establishing the Sangha. And this episode is called in Japanese shoten porin, or putting into motion the Dharma wheel. Okay, you know that Dharma wheel that is the emblem, our icon, putting that into motion. And these 5 ascetics were the first to take refuge in Shakyamuni Buddha and his teaching. So here we have the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, the Dharma, right, the teaching that he taught, and then the Sangha, the 5 disciples, and that were formulated. And that's how Buddhism begins. So a lot of times I get the question, why isn't Shakyamuni Buddha in the Onaiji, right? Where is Shakyamuni Buddha in the Onaiji, right? Why is only Amida Buddha at the center and not Shakyamuni Buddha? Shouldn't it be Shakyamuni since he was the founder of Buddhism? To which the answer is that Shakyamuni Buddha, as mentioned before, is not the first Buddha and he is not the last Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha is Buddha. Amida Buddha is the encapsulation of what a Buddha is. So I know it's kind of confusing, but it's kind of like if you can imagine that the Buddha Dharma is the principle of like that of H2O, if you can imagine H2O, right? The composite makeup of what water is. So H2O, if we tell children what H2O is, they might be like, what is that, right? But if we show them what liquid water is, right, they'll know what that is, right? So the average person does not know what H2O means. However, we have a picture or a statue or a drawing of the H2O depicted in what most people know what it is, which is in the form of water. So when people see water, they can say, oh yes, I know what that is. And finally, one form of water is when we drink a cup of water, right? So we can physically touch and feel directly what the effects of water does, right? So similarly then we have the H2O, which is the Dharma or the Buddha Dharma. It's the principle of absolute truth, the principle of absolute wisdom and compassion that operates not only in this world, but in the universe and beyond. Next is the drawing or the picture or the statue of what water is, and that would be Amida Buddha. So we recognize it as a Buddha who encapsulates or personifies infinite wisdom and compassion. And finally, there is the cup of water that we drink, which is like the water that we know in concrete form. And this is analogous to the actual Buddha who lived and walked this earth, to Shakyamuni Buddha, right? So Shakyamuni Buddha is the concrete form of Amida Buddha who manifested in this world. So when people ask, where is Shakyamuni Buddha in the Onaijin, I want to say, right there, you're looking at Shakyamuni. When you point at Amida Buddha, you're actually pointing at Shakyamuni Buddha as well. Okay. So the statue of Amida is Shakyamuni. Shakyamuni is Amida Buddha, just like H2O is water. A cup of water is what a drawing of water, right? And so and there is no difference between those things. So then, what is it that Shakyamuni teaches us about the Buddha Dharma? What is significant about the Buddha Dharma? Well, the Buddha Dharma is the story of Amida Buddha and the vow to save all sentient beings from this world of delusion. Amida Buddha fulfilled the wish, or what we call the aspiration, for all sentient beings to be able to have a path of spiritual liberation. And that path cannot be one of difficulty. It must be available to everybody, even if they might not physically or mentally be able to carry out the difficult practices, right? It's got to be for everyone. In essence, what Amida Buddha does is bring us to awaken to the teaching of infinite wisdom and compassion through the saying of the phrase Namo Amida Butsu. The person who talked about Amida Buddha is none other than Shakyamuni Buddha. It was Shakyamuni who told us about Amida Buddha. And Shinran Shonin, our founder, explains that if it wasn't for Shakyamuni, we would never have known about Amida Buddha. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's a great, wonderful story, but what does that have to do with me, right? Why do I need to know this, right? I'm not exactly going to get better grades in school, or this isn't going to help me get a raise or a better job, right? Or anything like that, right? By knowing these things, what does this have to do with me? To which the answer is that it is important to know this because it is the teaching of Amida Buddha that tells us that truth is not something we try and grasp or try to go and attain. Truth is not something where we have to go and become mendicant ascetic monks, practicing in the woods, living a strict vegetarian diet, living in solitude, unmarried and without children, right? Truth does not require meditation hours on end, sitting in a room or somewhere off to the side, right? Truth is not something for you to attain or gain as if it was some kind of medal or some kind of approval from the heavens. Amida Buddha teaches us, Shakyamuni Buddha teaches us, Shinran Shonin teaches us that truth is right here, right at our feet. Truth is not something we grasp. Quite the contrary, actually. Truth grasps us. Truth grasps us. It's not something for us to possess or control. It is not something, quite frankly, that can be understood by the human mind and emotions that are based on egocentricity. The only thing we can do is awaken to truth, or maybe I should say, we can only awaken in truth. In other words, we awaken to the fact that we are embraced within truth. You see, this is a very different concept from what we normally think the world is supposed to be like or how it is supposed to operate. We normally think to ourselves, okay, if I work hard, I should reap the benefits of my hard work, right? So naturally, if I work hard by meditating a lot, or if I study and read a lot, or if I chant a lot and sing gathas all day and I do good acts and I do good things and I think of good thoughts and all these things, right? The golden chain, all of that. If I do all of that, or if I live a life of vegetarianism or celibacy or strict abstaining from all pleasures like eating Dunkin' Donuts, then I should reap the benefits, right? Which is that I am somehow now worthy of the truth. And what this entails then, though, is that I start to believe that other people are not worthy of truth because they are lazy or that they are too stupid to understand, right? But me, no. I am part of the exclusive few that gets to enjoy the secret truth because I did the work and I deserve to know the truth because of that. However, true religion is not something that's based on merit in this way. True religion is not made for the select few who have intellectual wit or the physical capabilities to understand it. Shinran Shoni teaches us true religion is not something for us to go and attain, like we level up and rank up, right, in some kind of video game of sorts. No, quite the contrary. Truth is at our feet. It's always been there, but we've been looking in the wrong place. We keep looking up for truth, right? Right? But really, it's right below at our feet. True religion is universal. It speaks to everyone and embraces everyone. Animals, plant life, inanimate objects that do not exist in the way we do are all part of the dynamic reality that embraces all beings. Grover's baseball hat and his bat are embraced within Buddha nature, and so are we. Buddha nature is Amida Buddha's working. This is what Amida Buddha is and does. This is what Shakyamuni Buddha was trying to get us to understand. One of the characteristic traits of a Buddha is what is called in Japanese taiki seppo, the idea that the Buddha can and knows exactly what to say to people in order to guide them based on their karmic needs at the time. This is why he taught what are called the 84,000 different teachings. He taught in accordance to his audience's needs and what they needed to hear to be guided along the path. For us living in these difficult times, it could not be clearer that we need to hear the teaching of Amida Buddha and the great aspiration for all humankind. It is the teaching that spiritual liberation is possible for those whose egocentricity knows no bounds and with no hope for true spiritual emancipation. We are living in a time when our political leadership will openly defy the laws of this land, ignoring the will of the people. Where a pandemic is raging uncontrolled and countless people have died, and where there is still a large portion of people who are unwilling to listen to the scientific facts of the efficacy of the face mask. Where the nation does not mind that we separate children from their parents and do not seek to reunify those families at the border. Where climate change and its effects are being ignored, where we pay our entertainers far more than we pay our school teachers, where we value test scores over music and the arts, where we allow for two judicial systems, one that looks favorably and gives the benefit of the doubt to the rich and the powerful, while the other throws the book at any minor infraction because the person comes from a disadvantaged socioeconomic class and minority, where we glorify and glamorize bad behavior while we shun and even exploit those hardworking people who live according to society's rules as best as they can and are trying to earn an honest living for themselves. In this time, we need Amida Buddha, a teaching of infinite wisdom and compassion that tells us that our lives do in fact matter and that we can still live in hope and gratitude in the face of all of these adversities. We need Shakyamuni Buddha's guidance in telling us that we are all in this together and that true peace lies when we look at the self and seek to resolve the problem of our egocentricities. Let us together, instead of holding hands, put our hands together in gassho with our palms together and recognize that true peace and spiritual liberation begins in self-reflection and humility supported by the Buddha. And with that, I would like to end today's talk. Please join me in gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Naman das, naman das, naman das.